of War Week Radio. Guys, it's good to be back. And this episode, the return of War Week Radio, is brought to you by FightSaga.com. Guys, for all the latest boxing news, please go visit our good friends at FightSaga.com. And once again, look for some articles that are going to be generated by all of the comments that you hear tonight on the show. Also, this episode is brought to you by the offices of Collins & Herron, serving all of your commercial collection needs. But I tell you what, this would not be an episode of War Week Radio without the counsel of our very good friend, Maestro, Mr. James Gogue. James, how the heck are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. We're getting ready to go.
Wait a minute, man. Wait a minute, brother. That wasn't good enough. We need a bigger round of applause for you, man. How's this one? Oh, that's more like it, man. How have you been, Gogue, and where are you residing, brother?
Now, I was in Colombia for a year and a half, training a lot of good fighters over there. I had probably like 20 pros, but I wanted to get closer back to the States, so I opened up a high altitude training center over there in Leon, Mexico. 6,000 feet altitude. That's one of the reasons why I moved up there. So, my gym was open, but, because of COVID-19, they got us on temporary shutdown.
Well, I tell you what, man, thank you for coming back to North America so we could do the show again, man. And I think I can speak on behalf of everyone who tunes in, and everyone's been writing, requesting the show be back on the air. There is no War Week Radio without you, Gogue. So thank you once again for being a part of this. And once again, we kept the moniker War Week Radio because since the last time we were on the air, we suffered the tragic passing of our very good friend and colleague, the one and only Mr. Don Warwick Chargan. God rest his soul. We really miss him every day, and, well, we're going to be thinking about him all throughout the show, guys. And, Gogue, let me ask you something. We've got so much to cover, and we're starting off with 60 minutes, right? And judging by the numbers and considering all the fights that are going to be taking place, we're going to possibly bump up the show to even more time, 90 minutes or maybe 120 minutes back to the way we used to. But let me ask you this. What would the Don think of Mike Tyson coming out of retirement at age 54, taking on Roy Chinny Jones Jr. at age 51?
Look, back in 1987, Don did George Foreman's comeback fight in Sacramento at the Arco Arena, and it did real good, by the way, at the gate. It was like over 5,000 people, and it was a shock. A shock Don that, he called him that he was coming back at 38 years old, I think, or something like that. Because, 38 years old, you're easily retired. But Mike Tyson's coming back at 54 years old. That's a big difference in everything. Ooh. At least George, for heavyweights, that's still, he still got some miles on his motor. Plus, he was well rested for a year and everything. Okay, and George came back a lot more wiser and better human being, a lot more wiser in the boxing business. To come back the second time, for a higher degree of success. But Don, he would have been totally shocked at 54 years old. You know what I mean? Joe, guys, Mike's damn near old as me.
Oh boy. Well, I'm almost there with you, James. Yeah, I'm pushing 50-ish. But I tell you what, speaking of Big George Foreman, he had something to say about this event, right, when this was announced. And once again, guys, the specifics are it's going to be taking place on September 12th, Saturday, in Carson, California. It's going to be carried on via pay-per-view on the Triller app. Now, what is a Triller? Well, we'll get into that in just a bit. But it's going to be an 8-round exhibition with 12-ounce gloves and no headgear. Now, when George Foreman found out about this, he had this to say about it. Quote, "There's a time when you've got to worry about your health, but it's a beautiful thing that they would even come out and fight," Foreman said. "Perhaps they could name a charity to be a recipient of the funds. It's good to come out, but it's got to be a fun thing, because boxing is nothing to play with. if I had to tell them something, and they probably wouldn't listen, but I would tell them that it's really dangerous. But, when someone like Tyson or Jones, when they make up their mind to do something, you can't tell them not to do it. They're not going to hear that. Even me, a big fool like me back in the day, I only saw what I wanted to see. End quote. So he's a little concerned about their health. Gogue, is there reason to be concerned when you pass the half-century mark and attempt to step foot in the ring with 12-ounce gloves?
Especially for Roy Jones. Look, Joe, Roy fought way like Sugar Ray Robinson and a bunch of great old timers like Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard. They all fought past their prime. I remember Ray Leonard when he got knocked out by Hector Camacho. I'm like, oh God, what is he doing in there? Okay? That
was a sad day, Gogue.
Roy Jones reminds me of that. Mike Tyson, he's of course he's way past the prime too. And Joe, let me tell you this: when you're young and you got a lot of energy, adrenaline in you, guess what? Them punches don't hurt so much. But when you get older, oh my God, every punch hurts. Okay, so yeah, it's crazy, but it's crazy that they want to come back, but the money that they've been offered, oh God, it's hard to say no.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get right into that. First of all, what is a Triller, Gogue? So once again, the fight was purchased, right? The event was purchased by Triller for $50 million. So once again, what is Triller? Now, I'm reading this right now off their social video platform, right? It's an app.
Yes.
It's an entertainment platform built for creators, a social video community where you can show the world who you are by capturing flawless videos and sharing them in seconds. Just shoot a few takes, tap the Triller button, and we quickly edit everything together into an impressive shareable video. That's the end of the description. Now, Gogue, what the hell does that have to do with boxing? In my opinion, this could really hurt the earning potential of Mike Tyson's comeback. Your thoughts on this before we get into the economics of this?
Joe, I know one of Mike's good friends. He was telling me that he still talks to Mike's people, and he said after Mike's what do you call it? He did that little 10-second video and got everybody excited about him on social media. Everybody thought
that promo, yeah.
Crazy offers the next day. People calling him all over the world to do this, to do that, to fight this, to fight this guy. Incredible numbers and everything. So when this became, Mike, of course, took his time because even I heard bare knuckle fighting or something like that. They were going to give him millions. But when of course, Mike took the best opportunity available, but with the least risk. And so Roy Jones stepped up before. To me, that's pretty much I don't think he'll get hurt. To tell you the truth, and the money they're going to pay him is crazy.
Yeah, so Gogue, now I know just speaking to everyone, when they were talking about Mike Tyson potentially coming back, right, when he put together the video that you're referring to, the entire sporting world started buzzing about it. In fact, they mentioned it on ESPN and Fox the very next morning. But they were actually mentioning and hoping to see Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 3. Now, Evander Holyfield already expressed interest and said, you know what, I'm down. All he has to do is reach out to my people, and I'm down. So why did he pick Roy Jones Jr., or is this just to test the waters? And if this is as successful as they hope it is that what we have to look forward to, Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 3?
Hey, Joe, you just never know in boxing, okay? The way, if this thing's successful and he doesn't get hurt and they throw some crazy money at Mike again, he might consider it.
Wow. So, why do you think they chose Roy Jones? Just now, once again, be as candid as you want to be, Gogue. We want to hear what you really think.
Well, he has no business fighting. I mean, he fought, like I said, he fought way past his prime, okay? Getting knocked out by Macronelli and other fighters.
Boy.
You know, even fighting a guy, guy way past his prime, Tyson, getting there and taking those punches, especially, the way Mike looked, he looked pretty damn explosive, hitting them damn pads. Like I said, I haven't seen him spar or anything, but you could see, you get hit by Tyson. Even right now at 54, he's still got that explosiveness, and he's probably still got those heavy hands, because that's one thing, punching power. You never lose it. Once you're a puncher, Joe, you're always a puncher. Okay? God just made certain rare individuals to be, great punchers. Heavy-handed, natural explosiveness, and everything. That's what Mike has. And if he hits Roy, oh my God, yeah, Roy. Like I said, he get knocked out again. Plus, at this age, Joe, you're talking about permanent. He's already got permanent damage to his faculties upstairs. Okay, he's just going to worsen the condition.
Now, Gogue, it's funny. You often see guys like James Toney, right, taper and start to just have a slight downward trajectory, eventually becoming, a shell of himself. And then you look at a guy like B-Hop, who, once again, was able to have success well into his 40s, but you saw him start to taper off, the speed and the reflexes decline, and they just don't resemble their former selves. But in the case of Roy Jones Jr., after getting KTFO'd by Antonio Tarver in 2004, his career didn't just decline. It fell off a cliff. Why do you think that happened to a guy like Roy Jones?
He never was the same after Tarver, Joe. I remember, Don, our good friend, Hall of Fame promoter Don Chargan, he used to tell me that, hey, sometimes a fighter's never the same after a certain fight. Sometimes they get KO'd real bad. They're never the same after that. They just don't take their punch resistance. Their punch resistance level is lower, and that's what happened with Roy Jones. He never could take a punch after that fight. His next fight got knocked out by Glenn Johnson. Okay, guys, when he was in his prime, he easily beat. Okay, so that's what happens, Joe. One fight could ruin you in this game.
Yep, and then he got knocked out by Danny Green down under in 2009. Then 2 years later, he got knocked out in Moscow, Russia by Denis Lebedev. And then he got knocked out once again in 2015 in Moscow once again by former cruiserweight champion Enzo Macronelli. And then after that, he just fought four perfunctory opponents. Byron Phillips, Rodney Moore, Bobby Gunn, and Scott Sigmund. Boy, four names that just roll off the tongue now, huh? So, Gogue, when you think about Mike Tyson, now this is crucial. When you look at Mike Tyson, even as an amateur, did you ever see him perform less than full throttle? Like they talk about, this is an exhibition. They're going to agree to only go like 50 or 60% in the ring because it's an exhibition and they're over 50. But have you ever seen Tyson fight less than 110%?
They better put that in the damn contract, Joe. That Mike is only going to go 50.
Jeez. You know what? Now the more I think about it, the more I'm actually fearing for Roy, because Roy just like I do, and he's a great guy, and he loves the sport of boxing. He loves his fighters. He loves everyone who's signed to RJJ Promotions, and he's just a good guy. He takes care of everyone who works with him. But you know what it reminds me of? It almost reminds me of, Gogue, Roy reminds me of one of those, well, forgive me for saying this, but it reminds me of an older, kind of a cougar-esque woman, right, who was a real looker back in the day and could have any guy that they wanted, and they used to dress provocatively. But as they've gotten older, they don't look the same. They don't act the same. But they still try to put on the makeup. They still try to put on the risque clothes and the revealing outfits when they don't look the same. But in their mind, they're still that same 18-year-old girl, right? To me, that's what Roy Jones reminds me of. He is a shell of his former self, but I'll never forget, I interviewed him one time about, 5, 6 years ago, and I asked him, I said, look, Roy, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. You've accomplished everything that you can accomplish in the sport of boxing. Why do you still insist on doing this? And he looked at me and he told me, why shouldn't I? If I can still compete at this level, why should I quit? And that it spoke volumes. It was quite alarming. And I'm like, because it's Roy and because, he's a former Superman, right? He could do it all in the ring. In my opinion, he's probably the best, most dominant fighter that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Live, right? In his prime, he was untouchable. You couldn't touch him. Like, he barely even lost a round, much less a fight. But to see him compete like this, it was like staring at the sun, Gogue. It was hard to watch. It was painful. Your experience, why do guys like Roy continue to want to fight?
A fighter never dies, never quits, especially if he's a great fighter, okay? It's just that, it's that, what do you think? What did Don say a long time ago to us, Joe? A fighter always thinks he has another fight. Remember?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Every great fighter still believes in his heart that he has one great performance left in the bag.
And that's why they keep on fighting. That's why they keep on fighting, Joe. They always think they got one more great. They always think they still got it in them. Okay, and in reality they don't. But they're living in fantasy land, Joe. That's what's happening.
Oh boy, and I tell you what, with Roy, I think this was the case with Roy, right? Because he wasn't a textbook fighter like Alexis Arguello or like James Toney. He was a guy who was very unorthodox, would have his hands down at his waist, and was completely dependent on speed and reflexes. And as soon as that knockout happened, it seemed to evaporate before our very eyes. So, Gogue, what are the chances of Roy Jones turning back the clock on September 12th?
Like me winning a lottery ticket, okay, Joe? That's the odds.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, if you lose your prime, you'll never get it back. Okay, once you're a shot fighter, you're always going to be a shot fighter. It's what do you call it? The human body, Joe. You can't rejuvenate yourself to be young once you get old.
Oh boy. I tell you what. Well, best of luck to Roy. Best of luck to Iron Mike. Gogue, what is your prediction for this? How do you see this playing out? And we're going to get some quotes from what Teddy Atlas had to say about his former fighter competing at 54 right after your comments.
Shit, like I said, Mike's an explosive. Just looking at that video, Mike still got he's still an explosive. He still look like he's got some explosiveness in his combinations punching. Okay, fast, sharp, crisp, and with power and everything. So he hits Roy, who shouldn't be fighting, shouldn't never take another punch again. Hey, he could go down. Okay, and like I said, Joe, the reason why this fight is getting talked about because Mike Tyson is mainstream, okay? Unlike the other fighters that are you got out there in boxing now, none of them are mainstream like Mike Tyson, okay? When Mike Tyson talks, everybody, shuts up and listens. So that's why this fight got that kind of traction and everything, especially when Mike put that social video up and people were like, oh, my God, he still has it. Oh, my God, still got it. And Mike, there's something about Mike Tyson, that aura of him, you know what I mean? That, that, what do you call it, Joe, that his name, Mike Tyson, that brand that, when people, when you talk about him fighting, people tune in and everything. Even at 54 years old, Joe, look at the mainstream media that came out talking about Mike when he put that video up. Am I right, Joe? It went viral, especially in social media now.
Indeed, he's a global icon and a legitimate celebrity. He transcends the sport of boxing. Absolutely.
So big time.
This is what Teddy Atlas recently had to say, Gogue. I'm sorry, do you have anything to add to that, sir, before we talk to or hear from Teddy Atlas?
No. He ain't, all these guys that are fighting pay-per-view. Look at all those shows they got what, 5 coming up? Oh, Jesus. None of them are Mike Tyson. None of them have that name brand, that appeal. You know what I mean? Like you said, he's a global icon. You think that boy Tank Davis, people know who who he is. People that know who he is, this little niche market we got in boxing now. Okay, that's what boxing is nowadays. It's a niche market. It's not a mainstream sport like basketball, the NBA, and everything. So Fat Boy Davis, and then he ain't that Mike Tyson. Charlo brothers ain't got that mainstream media appeal. Earl Spence, nobody in boxing, Joe, has that. Nobody in boxing can transcend boxing and be like Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Like you said, a global icon, a household name. Okay, nobody in boxing can do that now.
Indeed, brother. So it's going to be interesting to see how this, even on an alternative app like Triller, we'll see how. But once again, guys, they bought the rights to this event for $50 million, right? Well, because they're going to be selling it, and they announced it, they're going to be selling this event on September 12th for the bargain basement price of $50. So it's not going to be $70 or $80 like these other pay-per-views, right? Because they don't have to split the cost with cable or satellite distributors, they can give it to you directly for a much cheaper price. That's huge, Gogue, right? And so basically all they need are 1 million viewers to even break even, right? So they have the opportunity to make a killing on this. Now, once again, because it's an off-brand app, that might hurt its earning potential, but I don't think so. The closer we get to the event, the more we're going to hear about it, the more we're going to see these promotions, and the more the sporting world is going to be buzzing about it. Now, once again, we heard Teddy Atlas on his podcast, and this is what he had to say regarding Mike and quote-unquote exhibition. He said this: I've been a part of so many exhibitions with Mike Tyson, and you know what? They never end well for the other guy. Mike doesn't know how to go 50%. He doesn't know how to take it easy in the ring, even in sparring. He goes full throttle, and bing! The guy's out in 1 minute. Is that what we're going to see, Gogue, on September 12th?
Unless Mike got it in his contract to take it easy, he's going to go all out. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh. I love me some Roy Jones, brother, and it's going to be painful to watch. Oh, boy. So let me ask you this. At 51, could we, and now heaven forbid, and forgive me, and this is no joking matter, but could we see Roy Jones Jr. get Apollo'd on September 12th? And I'm referring to the Apollo versus Drago exhibition on Rocky IV.
If he gets hit, yeah. Like I said, Mike, just looking at the video, Joe, I'm going to say this again. He still got some explosiveness in his hands and speed and sharpness and crispness in his punches. Short, sharp, compact, explosive punches. Boy, them punches, woo! If they hit you, they'll hurt you.
Oh, boy, I tell you what. And so the last thing we're going to say about this, and it's funny. Please explain to me, Gogue, why everything has to be about Floyd Mayweather. Because someone asked him what he thought about the return of Mike Tyson fighting in an exhibition, and this is what he had to say. You ready for this? I'm sure you can almost guess what he had to say, right?
Yeah.
When they asked him what he thought about Tyson's comeback, this is what he said, quote, I think we seem to forget about who was the pioneer of making exhibition bouts huge. A lot of times we forget about certain things. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I'm not here to say Tyson's going to win. I'm not here to say Roy's going to win. I'm pretty sure it's going to be very entertaining. And if you're asking me if I watch it, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be watching it. May the best man win. End quote.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Gogue, why does everything have to be about him?
Floyd, the world revolves around Floyd and everything. That's just fighters, Joe. Fighters got huge egos, okay? You know what I mean? So, that's what made them successful, Joe, is their egos and everything. Their high belief in themselves and everything. You know what I mean? Their drive. So.
Well, shortly after, Gogue, and this is why I'm guaranteeing that we're going to see a knockout on this. And you hit the nail on the head, Gogue. Because when both guys get in the ring and they hear that bell with the 12-ounce gloves, exhibition or no exhibition, their egos are going to take over and they're competitors. Guys who have been at the pinnacle of the sport, like Tyson and Jones, could you imagine them not being competitive or trying to be competitive in this?
Exactly. They're fighters, Joe. And fighters are competitive, okay? They want to show each other who's better, okay? Unless they got it in their damn contract, and they got a written, written script, just like the, WWF, and they have it, you know what I'm saying, Joe? They got it all planned out at the time.
Well, let me just say this, okay? Gogue, let me word it this way. Do you really think people are going to spend $50 thinking that they're just going to play nice in the ring? Do you think people are going to want to spend $50 on that?
Well, Joe, you're talking about, this is not only the United States you could buy this. You could buy this fight all over the world. And there's, Mike Tyson's a global phenomenon, okay? Like you said, he's a global icon. People are going to tune in all over the world, okay? It's not only the United States, okay?
No, but my point is, Gogue, but my point is, do you think people are going to pay $50 because they want to see them play nice? Or do you think they want to see a fight?
They want to see the old Mike Tyson, okay? Ruthless, vicious, no remorse, okay?
And that's it. Guys, I tell you what, we're going to have more on this event the closer it gets to September 12th. But, guys, we only have, can you believe, Gogue, already 30 minutes have blown by through this show, and we still have so much to discuss. So, guys, let's move on to the next topic. Well, there's so many events. We just saw boxing. First of all, Gogue, what are your thoughts on, and could this be the future of boxing? Seeing events without any spectators. I know that the promoters and the fighters depend on the sponsorship as well as the live gate. But when you think about how difficult it's been in recent years, especially in the United States, to sell tickets to some of these events. I mean, we've seen great matchups in the past 5-6 years only attract 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 spectators to a live event. I mean, because when you think about it, when you see events without any spectators, without any fans, promoters don't need then 3 months to promote an event. They can just stage it within a month's time. As long as the money's already worked out and the network's already guaranteeing the funds, could this be the future of boxing? And what are your thoughts on seeing these events without an audience?
Hey, Joe, well, you're going to have to deal with the reality at hand, okay? They're not allowing people, large crowds to events, not only in our business, but any, all the other sports. It's the way it is. And you just got to, Joe, the way you survive, it's like, the law of Darwinism applies. The people that survive are the ones that adapt, okay? If you don't adapt, what? You're going to be eaten. You're going to be thrown to the wayside. Look at all the promoters out there that haven't adapted and they haven't put on a fight since this pandemic started and everything. But you got guys like Top Rank, PBC, Golden Boy. They're trying to come back and do fights under these conditions. You got it, Joe. That's the only way, or your company's not going to survive.
Indeed, and and Don told us this, right? He said, look, the key to being a successful promoter is all about the TV dates. That's how you attract talent. And for a young fighter, that's how you choose which promoter you sign with. You look how many TV dates they have throughout the year, right? I'm thinking that if these fighters, if they want to work, they're just going to have to start accepting the fact that, well, the year of the inflated, or the era of the inflated purse is long gone. And we're going to get more into that later on the show. But congratulations to Rung Visai, who came back this past weekend, had a unanimous decision victory. Also, Eddie Hearn putting his first show on DAZN. Congratulations to Ted Cheeseman, getting back on getting off the snide and getting a W and getting another check in the win column. But also, congratulations to Angelo Leo, who won the vacant WBO Junior Featherweight World title by dominating late replacement, 3-day replacement, Tremaine Williams. Congratulations. Also, did you get a chance to see that Joe George knockout victory over Marcos Escudero of Argentina?
No.
He basically decapitated him with an uppercut.
No, I didn't get to see no fights yesterday. I'll probably, if I get a chance, I'll take a look at them this.
Well, yeah, check it out
week.
when you can. But the reason why I'm mentioning that, Gogue, is once again, just so we're not going to get into those fights, but just congratulations to Showtime having their very first card since the pandemic. Congratulations to Eddie Hearn having his first card since the pandemic. And there's so many fights on the line or coming up on pay-per-view, and that's a big, big question, right? I think there are way too many pay-per-views, and once again, it's the only way these networks are going to stage these, because these fighters want huge guaranteed purses, and networks like Showtime, networks like ESPN, they're not going to stage these unless they have the benefit of the added revenue stream of pay-per-view. But with 4 pay-per-views within 3 months' time, will the fans support all of them? Now, I'm going to name these big 4, right? These are the big 4. Once again, you've got Tyson versus Jones on September 12th. 2 weeks later, on Showtime pay-per-view, you're going to have Jermall Charlo in the main event of the evening taking on Sergey Derevyanchenko. And more than likely, that pay-per-view is going to be priced at $79.95 because it's a stacked card. Every fight's going to be entertaining. And then the following month, you've got Gervonta Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz, once again on Showtime pay-per-view, October 24th. And then now recently announced, Errol Spence Jr. is going to make his comeback, defend his titles against Danny Swift Garcia on Fox pay-per-view, and that's going to take place on November 21st. Gogue, in this economic crisis, how are they to expect the fans to support every single one of these events? Your thoughts on this?
Oh, we're oversaturated with pay-per-views. Come on, there's what, five pay-per-views in the next 3 months, September, October, November. No,
oh,
they're gonna,
boy.
especially at times, Joe. Fast ain't gonna be able to afford every single one of them. I don't think they can. Shit, you're talking there's millions of people that are laid off and everything. So what's gonna happen? Promoters are forced to do it because they have contracts with fighters, and if they don't fulfill their obligations to their fighters, I don't know what it says on most of them fighters' contracts, but they got to fight them. If they don't fight them with for a certain minimum, hey, there's a breach of the contract. Fighters can walk and everything. So they gotta honor their contracts, the promoters and everything, and they're taking a big risk, Joe, by putting on all these pay-per-views. Well, PBC ain't, Showtime is taking the risk, and whoever's paying for the pay-per-views taking the risk. Okay, Al, there ain't no risk with Al. He, everybody puts up money except him. But Aram, I don't know what his deal with ESPN is, but if he don't get them to front the money for the pay-per-view he wants with the Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, then hey, you know what I mean. Right now, Joe, it's a big risk right now trying to do pay-per-view. Mike Tyson's a safe one. Okay, everybody knows Mike Tyson. It could be shown worldwide. You don't have to, these what do you call it, middlemen like these cable networks gouging into your money. Well, the other ones like Showtime and everything, it's a different business model they use. So yeah, Joe, it's a big risk considering none of them guys are are icons or somebody that gets your attention. Like, okay, I'm going to put money into them. Okay, I'm going to pay for his pay-per-view and everything. You know what I mean? Like I said, Joe, none of them guys that you mentioned that are coming up are pay-per-view worthy. I think, but like I said, Joe, every pay-per-view could cover the bills as long as the fighters' purses are reasonable. But if they're not, well, guess what, Joe? Whoever's putting up the money, they're going to lose it. They're going to lose money.
Indeed. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And Showtime, boy, they're putting a lot on the line. So it's going to be interesting to see how their numbers reflect this effort. Credit to them for staging these events, but honestly, I think it's just too much during this economic downslide, right? But you know what? Looking at the big four, though, of those matchups that I just mentioned, Spence Jr. versus Garcia, Jamal Charlo versus Derevyanchenko, Jermell Charlo versus Jason Rosario, and Davis versus Santa Cruz, one caught your eye, didn't it, Gogue? And that was Charlo versus Derevyanchenko. Why do you like this matchup?
Well, it's not, the reason why it caught my eye is because stylistically, it's going to be a great fight. That Derevyanchenko, he's always in a good fight, a physical, aggressive pressure fighter who throws, puts his combinations together real well. Against Charlo, classic boxer, puncher, strong, athletic, a good jab, a good right hand, good counter puncher. You know what I mean? Tough. You know what I mean? But this is gonna. Let me tell you, Joe. This fight's gonna tell me a lot about Charlo, his character as a man. Okay, because this guy Derevyanchenko is gonna test him. Okay, and there's gonna be like 2 or 3 times during that fight where it's gonna get rough in there. So we're gonna see, his character, if he's able to keep his composure and his poise and his discipline to stick to the game plan and don't get flustered. Okay, and don't get panicked by that heavy pressure that Derevyanchenko is going to bring to him and everything. So, like I said, it's a great stylistic matchup and everything, But I just think that Derevyanchenko's been in a lot of tough fights. He's got a lot of miles on his engine, okay, high mileage, and Charlo doesn't. And Charlo, boxer and puncher, you know what I mean? And he's physically strong too, to stand in there and hold his ground against the guy that's going to try to bully him like that, like Derevyanchenko. So, yeah, it's going to, to me, styles make fights, Joe. To me, pay-per-view, I think that's going to be the best fight out of all of them, style-wise, even though nobody knows Charlo or his brother. still, stylistically, I like that fight.
Indeed. 2 elite-level middleweights fighting for the WBC crown. And once again, I spoke with our good friend Ronnie Shields about this. He loves this fight because he thinks that his man is going to accomplish what both Danny Jacobs and Gennady Golovkin couldn't do, 2 of the hardest punchers in the division. He is guaranteeing a knockout of Sergey Derevyanchenko. Gogue, and one thing he told me, right, he said, look, he said he thinks that, and once again, he respects Sergey Derevyanchenko, and he's in this position for a reason. He's one of the best fighters in boxing. He goes, but he thinks that too many are giving him way too much credit for 2 losses against 2 elite-level competitors. Do you think that's the case? Do you think too many are giving too much credit to Derevyanchenko in loss?
No, I thought he gets all the credit in the world the fights he gave Triple G and Danny Jacobs, okay? All right, you don't see many guys fight like that, Joe, with that passion, okay? That Derevyanchenko fights now, and entertaining too. He puts it on the line when he fights, okay? He's a real fighter, okay? So no, I disagree with Ronnie. He deserves all the credit, he should get, the respect, because he put it on the line both times, okay? And both times, boy, they were a hell of a fights.
Yep, indeed. So you mentioned this earlier, though. Being through both of those wars, right, and walking through that fire and putting that tough pressure on both punchers, right, against both punchers, do you think that might have taken too much out of him? And he's going to be facing another big puncher in Jermall Charlo. And once again, you mentioned, well, first of all, what is the difference, the biggest difference you see between both twin brothers, Jermall and Jermell Charlo?
Well, Jermall, to me, I think he's a bigger puncher, and he's a little bit more physical, more assertive than his brother, okay? He likes, he'll mix it up. His brothers became a more assertive physical fighter with Derek James training him. But his brother used to, box, move, and counterpunch, and just, applied the sweet science from range all night. You know what I mean? Hit and not get hit. People don't want to see that. But the brother's more, he's got a nasty demeanor in him, like he wants to, his mindset, I want to knock you out. I want to hurt you. And that's why I like this fight. You know what I mean? I think both fighter styles mesh to make a great fight. And like I said, it could be an explosive knockout too for Jermall.
Yeah, indeed. So what is your, and once again, the closer we get to the event, we'll break these down more meticulously, more specifically, but if you had to guess, Gogue, who wins this fight and why? And what would be your strategy for both guys?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Derevyanchenko, he's going to fight like he fights, okay? Heavy pressure, combination punching after combination punching, body, head, body. And, just try, he's a bully. He tries to overwhelm you, okay, with physical pressure and a high volume punch attack, okay? That's how he's going to, that's how he's going to win. That's how he always going to win, Joe. You're not going to change him overnight to make him a little sweet, slick fighter. Just improve his defense, okay, because he does get hit a lot. Improve his defense, keeping his hands up, moving his head more, and working his jab when he's putting pressure, Joe. When you're moving into range, a fighter's kill zone, meaning where he can hit you and hurt you. You gotta put something in his face to keep him from throwing at you. Okay, you gotta protect yourself with a lot of jabs, in his face, and when you're not jabbing, moving your head. Okay. And keeping your damn hands up, okay? Because Derevyanchenko, boy, he keeps his hands low, and that's why sometimes he gets hit by right hands and everything. So just improving his defense when he's putting that pressure. The good jab, good head movement, and keeping them hands up nice and tight by the face. Tight defense, I call it. And to me, if Derevyanchenko's defense improves and he's getting hit less, of course he's gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna keep him in the fight, more competitive and everything, and put him in a position to win. But Charlo, what he's got to do, the key to me is, of course, boxing and controlling range as much as possible and getting that jab off and landing them straight right hands, catching Derevyanchenko coming in. Because Derevyanchenko sometimes, like I said, he walks in, he doesn't use his jab, doesn't move his head. So, Charlo could close his eyes and throw that right hand, he'll land, okay? Or them uppercuts. Because Derevyanchenko's going to be there. But to me, all that is good and dandy. But the thing is that Derevyanchenko, he's relentless, and you got to stop that forward pressure. And to me, the key to the victory is holding your own in the pocket. Getting in the pocket, bend your knees real good, okay? Getting a good fundamental stance, hands up, elbows tucked in, and don't square up on this Derevyanchenko. You're going to get hit with them uppercuts. Keep that left shoulder pointed right at his chest, so you're not vulnerable to Derevyanchenko's sneaky right uppercut and everything. And hold his ground. Set that back leg and don't let him push you back. Okay, rip them body shots, slow him down, but don't let him push you back. Okay, because if he starts pushing you back, he starts getting the momentum. What you want to do is, not stand there and fight him toe to toe in exchanges consistently. What you do that, rip them body shots, rip them uppercuts, and turn them, step around them. Okay, whatever side's available. If his right side, if Derevyanchenko's left side is available, Charlo should just step around to his right side. If his other side's available, step around to Derevyanchenko's right side. Okay, just keep stepping around him, keep turning him in circles. Like the great Georgie Benton used to say, just keep turning him. Don't let him set his feet, okay? Don't be a stationary target like a punching bag for a long time. Just keep turning them and everything. And when you do that, Joe, when you could do that successfully, a fighter will never, a fighter, when you keep on having a pressure fighter, when you keep on turning him, making him turn, he's always got to turn and set his feet and always, and get back into rhythm. But if that's what I'm trying to say, Joe. You get him out of his rhythm with that hard physical pressure by turning him, not letting his feet get set.
Wow, Gogue. Before we get your prediction, man, I'd forgotten how awesome you were at this. Jeez, that deserves a big round of applause. Dude, that was awesome. I forgot how brilliant you were, man, about breaking down strategies. So here it is. Who wins this fight, brother?
I think Charlo. This guy's tailor-made for Jamal. You know what I mean? And like I said, this guy's defense is not that good and everything. So once Charlo starts landing them bombs, like I said, this guy's he's a tough rock, a tough piece of meat. But if you keep on hitting the rock, it's going to crack. Or you keep on pounding on a tough piece of meat, it softens up. You tenderize it. Then you put it in the oven and let it.
Indeed. Well, there you have it, guys, from 3-decade fight trainer James Gogue. And once again, if you want to hear his breakdown once again, we're going to make this into a segment. You can see it on our YouTube page. Go visit Warweek Radio Network on YouTube and be sure to subscribe and like. But I tell you what, Gogue, we still have a lot more show to go, and we only have 10 minutes to do it now, man. So, guys, once again, we're going to get a little bit closer and more specific to most of these, all of the big fights, the closer we get to the events. But right now, we're going to talk about some boxing news. Oh, boy. Gogue, Teofimo Lopez making the controversial decision turning down $1.2 million and an opportunity to fight for the lineal lightweight championship against Vasyl Lomachenko. Gogue, what do you say? I mean, honestly, I can't believe that okay, well, once again, first of all, your thoughts on this before we get a quote from Mr. Bob Arum.
Look, Joe, I don't know. I'm old school because, I started this game in the 80s. And I always say, you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Prove yourself. Money should never be back in the days, they wanted the opportunity. They never cared about money. They knew that money would come, okay? if they beat the man. And, the way Teofimo Lopez was talking, like, oh, yeah, I'm so confident I could beat this. Just make the fight, Bob. Make the fight. Basically, he was saying that, whatever, you give me a fair purse, I'll take it. I just want to prove to you that I could beat your top guy. So I become the top guy, okay? Now, now Teofimo, now he's acting like a damn businessman, like all these damn fighters out there, okay? They want big money, but they haven't proven themselves yet, okay? And to me, Joe, that's why, honestly, Joe, boxing the way these guys are nowadays, it's taken a lot of luster out of the sport for me. You know what I mean? To me, I can care less if I watch them or not. Just certain fighters I want to watch, okay? But until you prove yourself, okay, I really don't want to watch a lot of these guys.
Oh, indeed. I second it, Gogue. Now, here's what, the Bobinator had to say about this, right? The Bob father. Oh, boy. Quote, I can't even say this with a straight face because it's ridiculous. But this is what Bob Herron, his promoter, had to say about this. Okay, well, this guy for the last two years wants this fight, always asking me to make a fight with Vasyl Lomachenko. He finally gets a title, and he has the opportunity to make a unification bout. Everyone wants to see it. So I'm trying to broker this fight for the past 7 months, trying to work out a deal, trying to get ESPN to bring forth this money. They finally do it. And what does he do? He's offered $1.2 million. And once again, this is on regular free ESPN. So what does he do? He tries to hijack the event, force it onto the pay-per-view platform to get the minimum amount of eyeballs on it. And he wants more money. So basically, I told him, look, we want this on regular ESPN to get millions of viewers. And he insisted, he and his dad both, nope, we want more money. So I said, well, it's not going to happen. Either take the $1.2 million or you'll be forced to defend your bullshit title against your bullshit mandatory for $300,000. And what do they say?
Yeah.
They picked $300,000 and to fight that bullshit mandatory. So I'm done with this. I don't know what to do about this. End quote. Gogue, what happens when a young fighter turns down a golden opportunity? How does the promoter usually react after this?
They're not happy, but they'll just they'll move on. That's all. Hey, they ain't gonna let one fighter hold up their company. They'll make other plans and move on.
Oh boy, yeah. Gogue, why does he think he's worth more money? You don't have the benefit of the live gate. Vasyl Lomachenko is obviously the A side and the mainstream draw. Teofimo Lopez he's never been a headliner for a big event like this. This is his very first one. Now, keep in mind, when he defeated Richard Comey in a great fight and won his first major world title, he was in the co-main event. Terrence Crawford was a headliner at Madison Square Garden, and that only sold, from what I understood, about 9 or 10,000 seats. So who does this kid think he is?
Well, look, we're in a different era now. They see other fighters fighting on pay-per-view, making that money. They want it, okay?
Oh goodness.
So that's what's happening. He's seen guys like Charlo, Tank Davis, and all these other guys fighting, getting more money, and then they're like, oh, I should get more money and everything, and this and that. So like I said, to hell with them. I don't need to watch them, okay? If you don't want to do it, move on. Let other fighters that are hungry, that are looking for opportunity, to be somebody, and not act like a lot of these guys. So to hell with them, man. I don't care.
Well, according to Teofimo Lopez, and he tweeted, right, or stated on his Instagram, what's the problem? I'm just trying to feed my family. Now, Gogue, in this economic climate in the U.S., do you think he's going to get any sympathy from the fans?
Yeah. Well, Joe, if you want to see how fans feel about what he did, all you got to do is go on Twitter. You'll hear it all. You know what I mean? So that's the most accurate market survey on opinions of what people think. You just go on Twitter, boxing, and follow all these boxing people. Listen to all the media people, then the fans, the comments, and you'll see. And I'm just like I said, I'm like I said, Joe, I'm old school. Came from the old school, and when there were only two or three legit belts, not 15 like they got now, and when you were a champion, you earned you had to earn your title shot by beating guys in the top 10, beating the number one contender, and all that other stuff. And fighting the best. Okay, nowadays, man, look at all the titles they got out there, man. The WBA with all their BS bogus titles, the WBC is acting like that. It's kind of like diluted the sport, the true meaning of what it means to be a world champion. Okay, with everybody everybody's calling them, the regular champion, the interim champion. They're calling themselves world champion. I laugh. I fucking laugh. I'm like, that's a joke, and like I said, Joe, boxing has become a circus, a sham to the public.
Well, it's a damn shame. Speaking of prima donnas, and we only have about a minute left to talk about this, Gogue, but very quickly, what are your thoughts on the financial crisis and battle going on between Canelo Alvarez and DAZN? What do you think DAZN? They want him to take less money. Canelo's standing his ground. What's your prediction for what's going to happen with Canelo Alvarez and DAZN?
I think it's their problem, not mine. Okay. They'll figure it out. Here, Canelo's going to take it. If not, you're going to sit. Plain and simple.
Well, to be honest with you, I think Canelo is easily talking his way into being put on the shelf until 2021. Thanks for playing, Canelo, because once again, unlike the other sports where if you are on the bench or if you're on injured reserve, you still get paid your contractually obligated amount. Not in boxing. If you don't make it to the ring, you get nothing. You get nothing. And mark my words also, Gogue. What's going to happen is DAZN, if he keeps this up, they're going to find a way out of that contract. Because of the unexpected crisis that came up because of the pandemic, they're going to find a force majeure in their contract and basically say, you know what, because of the unexpected pandemic, well, we can't be held liable or we can't be held responsible for this big guarantee. That's what's going to happen, in my opinion. But, Gogue, time is already gone, man. So your parting shots for our listening audience around the world.
No, I just like to, of course, thank all our, British fans, that tune in overseas. You guys are, I remember on the old show, I always used to say you guys are pound for pound the best fight fans in the world, boy. Your passion, you go out there, support your fighters, buying tickets, overall, you guys, like I said, I'd like to say hi to you guys, all our fans all over the world, in the USA, Mexico, over there in the Philippines, everywhere where it's got good numbers in the past. So, yeah, just thank you guys for tuning in. Love you guys all.
Guys, he's 3-decade fight trainer, James Gogue. James, thank you so much for your expertise tonight.